Hey guys, welcome back to another week of Behind and Beyond. This week we have a bit of a special edition. We're joined with Natalie, and if you watched this past week's sermon, you saw her incredibly powerful testimony about her overcoming OCD. So this week, me and Dave brought her onto the podcast just to hear more about her story. You can expect to hear us unpack what it was like to film her testimony and what that process was like for her. We also identify and walk through just the timeline of her struggle with OCD and how the Lord has brought her through just such an incredible journey. We also wrap up with a great conversation about the sermon, and we talk about what it looks like to rest in Jesus and have those difficult conversations with our friends and our family to lead us back to a place of conversation and community that really matters. So we can't wait to get into it, so let's start the conversation. Okay, guys, welcome Natalie to the podcast. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Yeah, how's it feel to be at the table?
Clearly, it feels good because she wore the jean jacket. So
Yes.
Clearly, I got
she got the memo.
I did.
Well done.
Yeah.
You fit right in.
Where's your jean jacket?
I know. I messed it up. Next week, I'll be more on track. I still wore a jacket though, so I think that counts for something.
Jackets for the win.
Yeah.
Yeah, Natalie, welcome. So glad you're here.
Thank you. Yeah, my husband said if you wear that, you could match Dave. He's kind of,
I'm a jean jacket guy.
You are a jean jacket guy.
Yeah, that's right.
And I was like, you're right.
That's
but
right.
then he was right.
Mm-hmm.
He was right.
Yeah.
We met.
I think I said this one time. Someone said when you wear jeans and a jean jacket, that's called a Western tuxedo.
Oh yeah, or Canadian tuxedo.
It could be a Canadian tuxedo,
Yeah.
but
I
we
don't
just
know
isolated
why.
all of our Canadian
We
listeners
did. I'm
right
so
there.
sorry.
I can't believe
It's a
you did
compliment.
that. It is. It's a
compliment.
tuxedo.
Yeah.
It's great. Yeah.
Ryan said that this morning, actually.
Did he really?
Yeah.
The Western tuxedo?
Yeah, you kind of whispered
It's
it.
great.
That's it.
And then it makes me think about tuxedo cake from Costco. Have you ever had that?
Oh
No.
yeah.
No.
It'll
Costco.
change your life.
Yeah.
Okay.
It will. It will.
We need a Costco sponsorship.
That's it.
That's what we're really digging at.
So, Natalie, my job here is to distract everything, to really go behind and beyond the whole purpose of this video. So, welcome. We're glad you're here.
Yeah,
Thank you so
seriously.
much.
And for people who were watching the service this weekend, they'll recognize you from your video, which tied in so well into Dave's sermon.
Mm-hmm.
But for anybody who doesn't know you, could you just introduce yourself? Tell us about your
Sure.
family, Pittsburgh, how long have you been here? Just give everybody, get to know Natalie a little bit.
Yeah. I'm Natalie Mather, and I'm married to Ryan. We have our son Lane. He's 6 years old, and we've been going to Northway, I believe, we go to the Wexford campus, and we've been going for, I believe, 8 years. And right now I am a homeschool mama to Lane, and he's in first grade.
Oh.
So we're having a lot of fun doing that. And let's see, we're from West Virginia originally.
So,
yeah.
Mountaineer fans?
Mountaineer fans.
Oh,
Yeah,
Country
Ryan,
Roads.
WVU, Country Roads, take me home.
Yeah.
that's
Ryan
us.
and I met a couple of, I don't know, maybe months ago. We hung out in the lobby just a little bit and talked, and he's a good dude. He's
Yeah.
fun. So,
Yeah.
8 years. I mean, it's
Best.
amazing. You've been there 8 years. And
Yeah.
I think I kind of just met you guys within the last year. So,
Yeah.
funny how God works. So,
Yeah.
Mountaineers. That's it.
Mountaineers.
Wild.
It's great.
Yeah.
Wild and wonderful, West Virginia.
Yeah.
Loud and wonderful.
Wow.
It is. It's
Is that
a
their
beautiful
slogan?
state.
It is the
that-
slogan.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Loud and wonderful.
What a slogan.
Yeah.
Wow, kind of jealous. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's impressive.
Yeah.
I'd love to know from you, Natalie, you were so courageous and shared your story and your testimony, which is so powerful. And I think that's, I know that the Lord used that in so many powerful ways. I would love to know, what was it like filming your story? I think that's such a unique experience that,
I think a lot of people are probably curious about that.
how was that
Yeah.
for you?
The production team here is so amazing and make it so comfortable. It was an interview
Okay, yeah.
process, and so it's really question and answer. I was sitting right here,
Yeah, you're right at home now.
originally,
Uh-huh.
wearing this same jean jacket.
Yeah.
It all goes back to the jean
And
jacket.
incredible opportunity, to tell a piece of the story that God's writing in my life. I'm so thankful for the opportunity. But anyone who, if it's on anyone's, heart to reach out, and you're wondering what it's like and that's holding you back, just know it's super comfortable. And it's just you talk and tell your story in an interview, exciting. You don't have to have anything memorized.
Yeah.
And
So did you do preparation before that? Did you write out some pieces of your story?
I did.
Did you learn anything?
I did.
Realize it as you're writing it out? Isn't that wild how that happens?
It
you've
was.
lived it. and you know your story, but
Yes.
what happened? And did you tell us what you learned? Anything you realized?
Yeah, I did. I wrote it down, and I was able to see timeline pieces that I really hadn't saw before.
Interesting. Yeah.
In the video I say,
Yeah.
I say, and then I started to pray, on my knees like that. I had never done that before, and I was able to see the timeline of like when, look back in journals and see when. The Spirit prompted me to do that. And then just different journal entries of healing and, that He brought about, slowly over time versus that one big cut to the rubber band ball that I had been, asking for a very long time. God, won't you just take this away? Won't you just take this away? And then when I started kneeling to pray, my prayers started changing to God. What is it that you're teaching me in this? What do you have? What are the desires of your heart in this?
Wow.
More like what is your interest? Praying for His interest, not just my own interest to be rid of this thing. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think that gives people hope
Yeah.
to hear like a real life story. Like it's one thing for me to say, hey, I know this person named Natalie and this is what she's experienced. But to hear you say it with authenticity, with believability, with like a balanced approach to the struggles, the highs and the lows. I'm actually prepping to, I got invited to speak at nearby church, Christ Church at Grove Farm, for their Wednesday night Lenten series. I'm good friends with the pastor there, and I'm teaching out of John 9. And Jesus comes right out and says, because they're questioning, why is this man blind? Was it his sin or his parents' sin? I mean, isn't that funny though? His sin, like he was born blind. He sinned in the womb. There actually are some rabbis that believe that, right?
Wow.
And so there's a whole philosophy around suffering and what did I do to cause this, right? I think we've all probably wrestled with that thought. But Jesus then tells us like the whole point of this is for God's glory to be revealed.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I loved it. My favorite, there was so much in the video. The rubber band ball, praying for a big pair of scissors to cut it. But sometimes the scissors don't happen. And sometimes God is showing you like removing one rubber. That was great imagery. And I thought that was very hopeful for anyone struggling or who has struggled and who's wrestling with God as well. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thought you did a great job.
Thank you.
It was so powerful.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was such a strong metaphor, I think, for people just visually. And I think people could relate to so much of like, this is something that just keeps to be growing. And I don't know what it's going to take to like experience that breakthrough.
Right.
But I think you explained so well. Something I'd love to go into too is I feel like you have, like God is doing such an amazing work in your life. And obviously there's way more than could fit in that 3-minute long video. Is there anything that you felt like you wanted to share that you didn't get to? I know there's a really cool experience at the well, or anything that you feel like, if I have the chance, like I'd love to add this part that got cut out.
Yeah, of course, it's hard. So much hits you afterwards too. I will say.
Yeah, I'm sure.
That's a great point.
So much hits you afterwards. Oh, I wish this or I wish that, and there was really just like, God, it's yours. Like whatever it is. At the well, I think it's important to, with the rubber band ball, like I had prayed for a long time, like I said, like, God, will you take this away? I don't know what this is.
Yeah.
Like these thoughts coming all the time. Done that. I did that for a really, long time, just asking for healing from it in one fell swoop. Right. And it was really, now I can look back and I have such, a gratitude for Him. And I praise Him for the journey of, that He walked with me. Like I followed Him down, taking off each rubber band, right? And it's calling out to Him again and again and again, each time. And now looking back, I never want to forget that.
Yeah.
Like I'm so like that, and it built that active faith is trust, right? And my trust and dependence and reliance, was built with every rubber band that He took off in the process. And then there was a time at the well event that, one of the things that that wasn't able to go into the video, but is a beautiful part of the story he wrote, is that at the well there was communion. And the communion was this big bowl of, ripped up bread, which is different than, than the
normal little cups.
Oh, I
cups.
see.
Yeah.
Yes. And I was at a part, like I'd been in exposure therapy for obsessive compulsive disorder.
Yeah.
And, but I was really still struggling in the area. And just for some perspective, my obsessive compulsive disorder had led me to believe that I needed to do, false belief of things like I would get a coffee and then I really, really wanted to drink that coffee. This is when I knew like something's not right. Like I'm out with a friend and I want to eat this sandwich, but my brain's like, don't do it. Or I really want to drink the coffee, but I've got to go home and pour it in a mug first before I drink it, one of my mugs.
Wow.
And then it was like, oh, and now you've got to heat up the sandwich or heat up the coffee. And it kept on adding on these steps for my perceived like safety,
Something you could do to kind of protect yourself and keep it clean and make it cleaner.
Exactly,
Wow.
controlling this false control, and that had become a sneaky idol over time. So back to this bowl of bread, that was very just concerning to my overall being at that point.
Hey, just let me just say this.
Yeah.
I get concerned when there's a bowl of bread out in public, just so you know. I'm kind of there with you.
Yeah, I know.
And it was pre-COVID I was concerned about that
fair.
too. Just me. I have Purell. I had Purell in my car before COVID.
Yeah.
So
Yes. I was thinking, like, how much hand sanitizer?
Can I use?
But I was truly thinking, like, can I go to the bathroom during communion?
yeah, just slip out. Yeah.
And that's when I realized, the Spirit just was like, no, like you're going to move forward and take communion.
Oh, come on. That's
and you're
awesome.
not going to get in your bag and rifle through for any antibacterial products, and you're going to trust me. And it's not that it's wrong to put on, before you go. It's not. But I knew it was a moment of obedience for me, and I just want to make that was a moment of obedience for me, and I now know that the bread was ripped up by very clean hands, but I didn't know.
Sure.
I didn't know.
Sure.
And so I will never forget his goodness and moving, and walking forward. My flesh not wanting to, continuing to worship in the discomfort of that, bowl of bread, but knowing what, but just focusing on communion in his body.
Shout out to the well real quick there.
Yeah,
that was awesome,
shout out
man.
to the
like
well.
Gathering for women, and it's helping all campus ladies connect and experience the Lord. So
it's phenomenal.
Shout out to that moment. What a breakthrough. Cool.
It is. So I walked forward, I took, took communion and knelt down. And I remember just, praising and praying. I think it's Romans 6:5. Oh, I'm not going to get it right, but
just say it's in Romans.
It's in Romans.
That's what I do all the time.
Confidently in Romans. Allowing the Spirit to control your mind leads to peace and life is what came to me. I'll never forget that moment. And from that day, I experienced more freedom in the area of eating than I had previously.
Wow.
Ever. It wasn't, a complete healing automatically, but it was even the next day. My husband Ryan was like, "Oh my goodness, like there was something." But I tell that story. And want to make sure that I tell, like, before that, so many rubber bands had been taken off of the ball previous to that. Yeah. But I do, but there was freedom after that moment of walking forward.
Yeah. Hey, I'll just encourage you real quick. I know there's always, whenever I tell a story, I worry so much about the facts and the details.
Yeah.
But I think your story, I hear so much of you are thanking God. You are praising Jesus. And I think that's like at the end of the day, that's what I hear. He has worked in your life. Yeah. You have surrendered, submitted, and followed his path and his lead. So awesome job. Thank you. You were so encouraging to so many people.
Oh my gosh.
Wouldn't you agree, even though you forgot to wear the
denim?
The denim.
It all goes back to the denim. I know. I'm sorry. I'm a disappointment here. Yeah. No, seriously. Yeah. Natalie, thank you for your boldness and I think what I hear in your story too is such a thread of obedience. And I think you really model, like, you were saying in those moments, you didn't feel like it and you still were in the midst of the struggle, but you had the Holy Spirit in your mind being like, let's just take one more step in obedience and like see what he'll do.
We all battle that. We all experience that. So, hey, so real quick, I can't help myself here. Like, I think I saw it in the video. One, I don't know which one is the right way to say this. Is it a fail swoop or fell swoop?
That is a great question.
And I got another one. If someone's like ahead of their times, are they a pre-Madonna or a prima donna?
Wow.
Someone's
These
going to
are
look
the
this up.
hard-hitting questions.
I'm going to get an
we
email
need to
about
know.
this.
Honestly,
I've asked
This is-
myself the same thing.
If you ever wondered, what is Dave thinking about on the front row? That's
this is it. This is the real
that's stuff I
behind the
think
scenes
about.
stuff.
I questioned myself.
Hey,
I
no
don't
one
know the
knows
answer.
though. We're
Welcome
three
to the
people and no
world.
one knows. That
Okay.
is a good sign.
That makes me feel so much
We
better.
all question
I was sitting there
ourselves.
thinking, like, was this a West Virginia thing? Do people know what I mean?
Yes.
I have an uncle from West Virginia, and he's a big Mountaineer fan, booster there, and everything like that. He has these West Virginia one-liners that I love, and I've never heard them from anyone else. He said that's like putting a lipstick on a pig. If you're,
Oh my
if
gosh,
you're-
I've heard that.
Have you heard that?
Yeah,
one?
they say that in the South. Yeah,
I think it originated in West Virginia.
Sure.
It's
Whatever.
wild and wonderful. No, the South tries to steal everything.
We
no
do.
offense.
We do. Yeah,
but-
you know, we had that first. Yeah, we didn't. It's fine.
Anyways,
I
sorry.
don't know. I don't hold the keys to that. Yeah. Oh man, we're really asking the questions that matter. Oh, that's awesome. I would love. Let's transition a little bit over. We'll give Natalie get the full behind and beyond experience. Now's the part where we grill Dave.
Okay.
And we ask him anything we want to. But I am really excited to have your perspective. I was like saying to you earlier how I think having another perspective is so healthy and like just hearing other people's thoughts. But I'm curious what your takeaways were from the sermon. I thought like the whole idea of resting in Jesus versus resting in our distinctiveness, which really, I don't even know if this was planned, but tied so well into watching your story as well. I thought it was just such a picture of like resting in Jesus for sure. But I guess my question for Dave, to throw it back over to you, is how are you experiencing like that rest in Jesus daily? Like, how do you walk through that struggle? What does it look like for Dave? Just for people who are wondering.
Yeah. So the Saturday night service was it was hard for me. It was just a struggle.
Yeah.
I wrestled through it. It didn't feel like it clicked and was smooth, and I couldn't say. And people were like, "No, it was good. Everything was normal," and I enjoyed it. And it's because I was in that sort of battle. I told some of the story. I cut it from Sunday morning because I didn't think I needed to say it, but I talked about how a lot of my life I wrestled with trying to be known as the distinctiveness of being athletic or the most athletic or being super successful at sports. And I would just say this, for the last several weeks, when I would get up to preach, Saturday night especially, I would feel like it was game day. And I had that nervous kind of belly, like sick feeling. And I used to get that before games. And I remember when I played baseball in college, I was always so like, how am I going to do today? I need to make sure I don't strike out, or I need to make sure I hit and defend well, behind the plate. And I just, Saturday night, I had some personal breakthrough from the sermon of, oh my gosh, I'm back there.
Wow.
I'm resting in my distinctiveness as a preacher, or as a communicator, or as not using notes and not needing and that's not why I don't do that to be unique. I do that because I want to see people. I want to stay connected with the audience. I don't want to be, that's just me. That's my own philosophy about communications. But I was like right back there, and I had to like surrender it. I had to identify the distinctiveness. Okay, Lord, I think I'm trying to be resting in my own ability here, or my own kind of calling or whatever. And it's all about the performance. And until the performance is perfect, that's the only time I think I can sort of rest. But then, wait, what if someone sends me an email? Or what if I misspoke or said it wrong or said fail or fell swoop? I don't know. Which one is it? Your mind does that even as you're preaching. So it's identify the distinctiveness that you're resting in. Repent. And repenting is, okay, Lord, I give up control here. I acknowledge it. I turn. I trust in your finished work of the gospel, and then move forward in peace.
Yeah.
And so Sunday to me was like breakthrough Sunday. And for like 3 weeks, the last 3 or 4 times of preaching, I didn't have that nervous belly. I was like, I felt really free. I
Wow.
changed it up a little bit. I even came out of your story. A lot of times I don't try to script. So a lot of people were saying like, so that story was planned because you knew this. It was not.
No,
It wasn't. It just kind of lined up.
Yeah.
That's the work of the Lord, in my opinion.
Wow.
But I came out of the story just a little bit different by just calling on people to raise their hand for prayer.
So powerful.
I just felt like that's what we need to do here, and I felt free to do that. So, does that you got to identify it?
Yeah.
You got to name it.
Yeah.
You do.
Yeah.
You can't dance around it, and there's no shame because we all can name something. That's the importance of salad conversations.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
So, yeah, and the other big breakthrough this weekend was I am in the small minority of people who eat salad after dinner. There were not a lot of hands that went
I
up.
didn't want to tell you that beforehand, but I heard it in the
My
run through, and I was
people
like, Dave, I don't know.
small. Yeah.
I don't know if you're going to find a lot of community in this. Are you a
Yeah.
salad after dinner person?
No, yeah.
I know, I
yeah,
like to.
before.
I'll pray for you
Yeah.
guys. I'll be
Yeah,
praying.
yeah. She's on the
interceding
right
for you.
side over here.
The distinctiveness you have.
It is.
It is.
It is your
Yeah.
distinctiveness.
It's just how we do it, man.
Yeah.
And that really is. But
I've heard it's healthier.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's something
Maybe.
with the glucose. I
Maybe.
don't know. Someone
Yeah.
decided that. Yeah.
Friends of ours, they go to the Wexford campus. I always chat up with them. I love these guys. They said, you know why we do that? Because they're Italian as well. I think it could be like it's sort of an
Oh.
ethnic thing. Someone who has a Russian spouse said their version in Russia, they do it as well. I was like,
Whoa.
awesome.
You're just international cuisine.
Man of mystery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
No. They said, think about this. You want to eat the hot food while it's hot.
True.
The salad can wait. And I'm like,
True.
I never heard that, but that makes a lot of sense to
Yeah,
me.
respect.
I'm going to grab that. That's
agree.
why
Yeah.
that's why we
agree.
do that.
Yeah.
I'm changing today.
Yeah.
Yeah, so much sense.
I thought the salad conversation scene was really powerful though. Yeah.
Yeah.
Too.
And I'd love to know how, as we start to wrap up, I'd love to know, Dave, how do you encourage us to have those harder conversations? Not even necessarily harder, just kind of the ones that matter. Maybe for people that are listening who are like, I want to have those conversations with my spouse, with my kids, with my friends, but it just feels too weird or too hard.
Yeah.
What's like some practical advice to like
good.
take that step?
So let me just first respond to that. It will never not feel hard or weird.
So true. Yeah.
So if you think I'm going to wait until it's not hard or it doesn't
Yeah.
feel weird and then I'll do it, you're going to be waiting a long time. It's kind of like waiting for everything to be perfect to be able to get married.
So true.
Hey, if you're not married and you're like thinking about getting engaged and everything like that, you'll never check all the boxes because
Very, very true.
we're all human.
Truth.
We all
Yeah.
keep changing. We're all growing and wrestling. We've all got rubber band balls. We do. But the other piece I would just say is this. In your heart, if you're trying to win and finally let that person know, I told you so. I knew this. You're like, when you're
Yeah.
trying to do this for you and when you're trying to do it for them.
Yes.
Don't do it if it's for you
Yes.
because that'll wreck the relationship. It won't help them. It'll only build resentment there.
Yeah.
There is surrender and repentance on the part of the truth teller as well.
Yeah.
Like you have to say like, I want to do this for Rebecca or for Natalie. And that's a posture of love. That's a posture of patience. That's a posture of gentleness. And hey, let's ease into this. And if we don't quite get there, I'm not going to force my way through that door.
Yeah.
Let's have dinner again.
Yes.
Let's talk again. And I would just say like in your heart, are you trying to win and be right? Or are you trying to help them genuinely? Are you doing this out of love? Because that's the tone I hear in Jesus. I don't think he was always doing this to the Pharisees.
yeah.
I don't. I think they needed rebuke. I think they were out of a sort of a noble effort in their heart. I had to cut this from the sermon. They were trying to save their people.
Yeah.
This was
Yeah.
just the way they were doing it. Any effort to save people outside of Messiah, it's not going to work. It's empty. It's kind of hollow. So I believe there was love in Jesus' voice, even when he told the Pharisees that crushing man was not made for the Sabbath. Like you're worshiping the wrong thing. You're bowing down to an idol. By the way, I love that you identified an idol in your story.
Yeah.
Most times we don't do that. We're afraid to say that, but they're all idols. They're all things that are more important to us than God. So,
Yeah.
that's my
Yeah.
roundabout answer
No, that was great.
to the question.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it's important to name it. It's important to say.
Yeah.
I can remember the day, actually, if I could say
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
and I remember who I called, and I said, I've just been, there's always spiritual battle going on, and I'd been blaming the enemy, but when I recognized that it was, the enemy was on, using this all, and his lies to still steal, kill, and destroy. He's always out for that, but it was my flesh, and it was a sneaky idol,
Yeah.
and I needed to shift and repent.
Mm-hmm.
I can remember the breakthrough of that, and I remember calling my dad and being like, yes, the enemy's attacking me, but this is my flesh, and I have an idol, and like now, and I'm naming it. Yeah.
A lot of times the enemy takes and uses the ground that we offer him,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
And that's some of the spiritual warfare. So naming it is one of the first steps in silencing the voice of the enemy.
Yeah.
Because now what can he do? You put it out there in the light.
Yeah.
Once
Yeah.
things are in the light, can't deceive you about it. You can
Right.
see it for what it is. So naming it is such an important, and we would rather dance around of it because it's embarrassing to name it. Why? Freedom is so worth it. It's right there. It starts with naming it. So I had to name that Saturday night. Lord,
Yeah.
I have been resting in my performance. I am sorry. This is not about me or for me. So, yeah.
Yeah. It just disarms
good.
everything, takes the power right out of it.
It does.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. We're all about finding freedom.
Yeah.
This was great, guys. I really enjoyed having
Natalie, great job
Yeah,
today. I mean,
you're-
wonderful.
You're
So
natural.
fun.
Hey,
so
by the way,
fun.
if you're wondering, the notes there,
Yeah.
you took notes on the
Yes.
sermon in preparation.
Oh, yes.
That's awesome. It's really cool.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm a big note taker.
I'm a big
Same.
note
I have a
taker.
notebook and I got to write things down or I'll type in my phone because it helps it stick with me.
Yeah.
Me too.
It doesn't stick if I just listen. I gotta
Same.
I gotta
Yeah.
engage it too. So
yeah,
pretty
me
cool.
too. And I can write down the questions. I think my small group sits there. They're like, well, if I miss that, then I can ask Natalie later. Yeah, I feel some
You
responsibility
should
now.
post
I'm
those.
just joking.
Yeah.
No, that's
good.
awesome. Yeah. Thanks for the notes and thanks for your time. And
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. This
Yeah.
was fun. Thank
Yeah.
you,
It's
Rebecca.
great.
Thank you, Dave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got it.
Yeah. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
listening, guys. And we'll see you next week.